इंडिया में हमने पैसे को कुछ बुरा इंसान जैसा बना दिया है, ठीक है, कि बुरी चीज़ है, पैसा बुरी चीज़ है. इट्स नॉट, ठीक है. अगर मुनाफा के लिए भी कोई करना चाहता है, समवन इज ड्राइविंग देम फॉर डूइंग इट फॉर मनी, दैट्स ओके, ठीक है. देयर इज नथिंग बैड विद इट, राइट.
Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Lemon Lessons with Anusha. For the next 50 minutes, DS Aman, the tech wizard and mastermind behind Aqualens at Lenskart, spills the tea on his journey. Oh, did I mention he's also the co-founder and CTO of a very successful startup, HighApe? Well, we will also be diving into the surprises, the fails, and the epic moments that got him where he is today. From battling analysis paralysis to decoding the startup versus business saga, we are covering it all. Plus, we'll dish out some golden nuggets on work-life balance, the art of failing harder, acceptance, the concept of hustling, finding his yellow, and the magic of exploration. Grab your earbuds, folks. It's time for the podcast adventure like no other. Let's dive into the Lemon Lessons journey together. I'm very excited. ये रिकॉर्ड नहीं होना था. So, hello DS, welcome to our podcast. Thank you so much for accepting the invite and taking out time for us. How are you? How has it all been?
First of all, thanks for having me here, Anusha. Yeah, it has been going pretty good, I would say. I mean, it's all about work, but from time to time, there are very nice episodes as well.
Yes.
I believe, like this podcast that we're doing right now. So I'm sure it'll be fun. So
I hope it turns out to be fun. Let's see.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. But okay, to start with, now I know I didn't want to start this topic. I didn't want to throw this in the beginning of the podcast, but it has always been in my mind. 99.6%. What was the journey through that? Because I am sure you must have had your days where you were just like studying, maybe, because it's like long back, but
Yeah.
still I think a lot of people are aspiring to get a score like that, and what do you think you went through back then? What happened?
So I gave CAT in my final year of college. I think that was way back in 2015. But I think, I mean, I didn't prepare for CAT really, to be very honest. Okay? I never wanted to do MBA. It was just because my parents didn't want me to go for startups. So they were looking for ways in which they could stop me. So said, beta, CAT ki tayari kar lo. Okay? Let's prepare for CAT. So just to keep whatever they were saying, and my sister was also giving CAT that year. So I said, okay, I'll give CAT ka exam. But I found the preparation, some part of the preparation really interesting. Okay? And whenever something catches my interest, I just give my 100% to it. So I didn't really care about maths. I wasn't having any fun in it. But there is a section in CAT and ZAT, in which both of the exams I gave. There is a section called logical reasoning. Okay, so, and I've always thought that I have good logical reasoning, so I wanted to check out my abilities in that. So I started solving some papers and I was getting decent score out of it. Okay, but then I wanted to make it even better. So I started finding places where I could brush up that skill of mine. So, and there's this website called Puzzle Baron. Okay, so I went back to my childhood. I started solving puzzles. Okay, and that's the preparation that I did for CAT. I opened up Puzzle Baron and every day I used to solve a puzzle. And then I just showed up for my CAT exams. Okay? That's about it. And I think the highest that I scored in both the exams was in logical reasoning section. In CAT, I got 99.95 percentile in logical reasoning section. In ZAT also, I got 99.95 in logical reasoning. There's the name of the section is a bit different, but I think it's parallel to what CAT has. It's in logical reasoning.
Amazing. So, but wait, right now you said that like from college, like you were in your final year of college and then you went for CAT. How was college? Like, what did you do back in when you were in college? Like,
except studies, I believe everything else. Yeah. So probably, I mean, there would be many teachers in my college who would have never seen me in class.
Okay.
So the day I would turn up, they would be like, "Who's that guy sitting over there?"
Okay, so what was the
Yeah.
kya co-curricular activities? What?
So in my first year, I was active in co-curricular activities also. Primarily, it was public speaking, debating, drama. So I was active in such kind of activities. There was a bit of sports too, but I've never been a much of a sports person in my life. So, but apart from that, since the first year, I got this craze in college that I have to start making money. ठीक है कि नहीं नहीं पैसे हैं नहीं पैसा बनाना है सो वट एवर यू डोंट हैव यू ऑलवेज वांट दैट राइट सो एंड आई हैव बीन दैट काइंड ऑफ अ पर्सन कि वट एवर कैचेस माई फैंसी आई डू दैट सो इन माई कॉलेज आई थॉट कि फर्स्ट ईयर में ही आई स्टार्ट मेकिंग मनी एंड दैट टाइम देयर वाज दिस कॉन्टेंट राइटिंग प्रोजेक्ट दैट आई हर्ड फ्रॉम समवन हैपेंस आई वाज दैट टाइम इन कोलकाता सो आई गॉट इन टच विद अ गाय एंड ही स्टार्टेड गिविंग मी आर्टिकल्स टू राइट एंड ही वाज पेइंग मी 25 रुपीज पर 500 वर्ड्स ठीक है आई थॉट वाह बहुत पैसे हैं इट्स अ लॉट ऑफ मनी So I started writing some 6-7 articles per day. I was earning like 150-200 rupees in a day, and I was very happy in my life. ठीक है कि अब pocket money मेरा खुद से निकल रहा है. I don't have to depend upon my parents. But then again, you never settle up, right? So after that, I thought, okay, what else can I do in this, right? So I started contacting other clients. I started going there from which the person who was giving me projects was picking up, right? And then suddenly my average 500 words rate started increasing. I went to 150 rupees, 200 rupees, even for some projects I got 500 rupees per 500 words. Okay. So the money increased over there. Then I thought, okay, what else can I do in this further, right? And then I started hiring people under me. Okay. Let's say I had, at a point of time, I had about 20-25 writers with me. Now what I used to do was, I used to take high paying projects from clients and then I would outsource to them, right? For 50-100 rupees per 500 words. So my total output increased from 7-8 articles a day to about 200 articles a day, right? At the max that I did. So that was fun. But and after this thing happened, right, in my second year I did these kind of projects and it continued for a bit further as well. But then I saw what happens with these articles, right? I started exploring further. So I found it is put up on some websites. So I thought, ठीक है website ही क्यों नहीं शुरू करते हैं, let's go where everything is going, right? So I opened up my own website, ठीक है, in my second year, and that website started getting decent traction. And we had about, I think, I don't remember the exact number, but I think about 20-25,000 visitors a day on the website. So I was making decent income out of affiliate marketing. I learned affiliate marketing also over there. And then AdSense, Google AdSense. You show ads on your website and you make money from the ads, right? So I learned these two aspects as well. फिर I thought, okay, website भी हो गया, now what else? So I thought कि let's start a t-shirt business. T-shirt was a huge craze at that time, right? There was this company called Alma Mater, if you remember, and I read Alma Mater's book, जो भी Varun Agrawal, he wrote a book at that time. I was heavily inspired by him, right? Startup was a very new term back then, and you had really less number of entrepreneurs to be inspired from, especially in the Indian startup space. Even startup wasn't a popular term back then, right? It was business for everyone, not startup. So I got inspired from him. I said, जो ये कर रहा है वही मुझे भी करना है. I'll open up a t-shirt company. ठीक है. So I called it Bomb Heads. And we started delivering t-shirts to different college festivals and department fairs, things like that, right? And we delivered, I think, about 2,500 t-shirts while the time we were active. But then it was a very operational constraint wala job, and it was very difficult to carry on with college classes. तो ज़्यादा नहीं था, but exams तो देने थे, right? I had to give exams, so it was very operation intensive. So I had to call it off after, I think, about 4 to 5 months of operation. And then in my third year, I thought कि ठीक है website में ही कुछ करते हैं, but let's take it to the next level, right? Let's have an objective around it. Basically give purpose to your startup. And that's how I learned that every startup needs to have a story as well, right, around it. So I opened up a website called Rise for India. Now, Rise for India, as we used to call it, was citizen-driven, opinion-based media website. Very hi-fi term. So basically, what that means is that it was driven by the citizens of India. They could come there, voice their opinion, and it was a media website, right? We would publish those opinions on a website. So I think we had about 200 volunteer writers all across the country who used to write for the website. We definitely had ads and all other things to basically keep the website sustainable, but we were trying to run it on a NGO model sort of a way. Okay. Now what happened gradually, I noticed we started getting a few queries from our readers, which were about 500,000 readers a month. We started getting queries from them that that just reading isn't helping them, right? They also want to do something for the society. So, okay, something clicked over there. Then we started reaching out to NGOs in different metro cities. we tied up with those NGOs and we started converting our readers into volunteers and started connecting them with NGOs for their social initiatives. We then also worked with a few corporates for their CSR initiatives. So that's how Rise for India shaped up, right? I think most of the learning that I had in my college was running this thing. It was a huge team, right? 200 people and then 10 or 15 NGOs and 3 and 4 corporates with which we are working. So it was a lot to process at that time, but that's how you learn things, I think.
Yeah.
If you don't push yourself, if you don't push your boundaries, you don't know how much you can really do. Right?
Yes.
So that's what I learned, and Rise for India was a great learning. In my final year, then I figured out that I would like to do something in the capitalistic startup space now, because I think real impact could be made with money. Especially in India space, right? You could create more employment opportunities, you could provide more value to the end customers, and hence I wanted to try out in this space also. So I sold out HighApe to an NGO out of Maharashtra, which was a partner. And then I shifted to Bangalore and started my company HighApe. So this is my entire college wala journey. Except studies, I did everything.
But okay, just asking a very, like, I am sure half of the people would think this. अगर इतना सब आप करते थे तो कॉलेज में क्या कभी टीचर नहीं सोचती थी कि ये इसको फेल कर देते, ये तो आता ही नहीं है क्लास में?
I failed a lot in my college. Not to be honest, yes. I got quite a few back. So even during my exams, I was like, if something was started, I was doing that only. I was working on my business. Exams देख लेंगे 5th semester तक में. So in my college we had this policy, you should be clear in all subjects by your 5th semester, right? Because 6th semester was a full internship period. So by 5th semester you should have cleared all your exams. So I was chill, ठीक है पढ़ाई तो हो जाएगी, 5th semester में देखेंगे. No need to study right now. So in my 5th semester I cleared all the subjects.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, do you by any chance regret not being in the class and being outside? क्या कभी ऐसा कुछ point आया like अच्छा छोड़ थोड़ा रुक जाता हूँ थोड़ा class पे focus कर लेते हैं थोड़ा देर? Well, because I know a lot of people out there who try out different things, they want to go ahead, they do it, but the college assignments, exams, jury, all this pulls them back and they're like, oh, इस पे भी तो करना है, मम्मी पापा इतना पैसा डाल रहे हैं degree में, we need to focus on that also. So how did you find that balance? How did you ever feel the guilt कि oh, my parents are putting money in the degree, I'm not going there, I'm doing this? And I mean, of course you had a vision there as well, but still, like, how did you handle that aspect?
I think first of all, I have been lucky to have very supportive parents, I think. So they try their tactics to push me in a certain direction that they want me to go in. But then if I am very rigid that this is what I want to do, then they never basically they don't intervene what I'm doing, right? So I think the college that also I chose was marine engineering. ठीक है, मुझे चूल मची हुई थी हमेशा कुछ different करने की, ठीक है. All my friends are going for mechanical, computer science, and I said मैं marine engineering करूँगा, ठीक है. So I went to Marine Engineering and Research Institute of India. My father tried to convince me, but then ठीक है, अब देख लो, whatever you want to do. So I think in startup also, in these things also, in college also, I was always honest. I have been always honest with my parents also. So I was honest कि मैं पढ़ाई पे focus नहीं कर रहा हूँ. I figured out what I want to do in my life, and this is what I'll be doing, right? Marine engineering is not my cup of tea. I realized, I think the second week I went to my college.
What?
I realized this is not what I want to do.
Wow.
So I started finding out what is mine, and I figured out a way. And the second thing, I go with this mantra of no regrets, right? I never tried doing things that basically I would regret from, right? There are mistakes that I have made, but then I look at those mistakes from a learning point of view, rather than from a regret point of view, right? Because whatever I'm doing it thinking it, right? So if I'm doing something by thinking it, I can be wrong, right? But then I can't regret that, right? Because I made a thought of decision. So I never regretted a single day in my life about it. Yeah.
But right now you said that कुछ errors, blunders हुए थे, mistakes हुई थी. Would you like to put light over like a few of them? मतलब एक दो कि ओ ये करा था, ये थोड़ा.
I think mistakes, though, obviously there are a lot of mistakes that we have done in our life, right? I mean, and those mistakes, I mean, it's not like a very broad mistakes that you do that you can point out over here in these conversations, I believe. But small mistakes like starting the t-shirt business that I mentioned earlier, right? It was not a very well thought of decision because I had to quit after 3 to 4 months, right? Because it was very difficult to handle that business and probably not possible to do while you are in college. Also in a college like mine, it was a paramilitary college, so maybe I did didn't attend classes, but there were a lot of disciplinary things to do, right? So it was very difficult to handle in such circumstances. So probably I could have used those 4 to 5 months better, right? In other sense, in mistakes, I think as recently I'm in Lenskart also, I make a lot of mistakes, right? The place that where I'm working at. But we have this philosophy. So there are some principles and guidelines, right, at Lenskart, which tell the employees on how they should take their actions, right? One of those principles is fail harder.
Okay.
To fail harder, you have to make mistakes, right? You will make mistakes, but you have to keep trying to do things, right? If you have that kind of basically passion inside you, okay, I just have to keep trying, 90% of the time you might fail, right? But then 10% of the time you'll be successful, and that's what basically counts.
Yeah.
Right?
I think this is something that someone told me, that you will fail multiple of times, but that one time you will succeed. That is all that counts.
Is it.
That is it. That's the end game.
Yes.
But yeah, and now when you were telling me a lot about, back in school you did drama and all that stuff. Do you miss those days? How were those days? Like college co-curricular activities, and were you doing that and doing also? So I also go and host mostly all the events that are happening in my college, but then I also want to do internships, and I also want to do college work, then I want to do everything that's out there, but sometimes you need to push back because quality of work starts degrading. So how did you find that balance, that quality bhi hai quantity bhi shayad kuch had tak hai? What was your balance there?
I think in terms of co-curricular activities, I really don't believe that it holds you back, right?
Okay.
It might get overwhelming, right? But everything in your life is about prioritization. That's what I believe in. You need to prioritize, you need to have a schedule and then stick to it.
Correct.
And then it becomes a habit for you, right? Once something becomes a habit, it stops being overwhelming, right? It becomes overwhelming because you're doing things in an erratic way. Right? If you stop doing things in an erratic way and rather in a planned way, then it doesn't become overwhelming, right? Today also, I think I involve myself in a lot of extracurricular activities. I'm learning flute. I practice flute every day. I go on long distance cycling trips. I go to my office on my cycle. So that's what I'm doing. I play video games a lot. So I think it's just about balancing it, right? And if I think the things that I've noticed is when I stop doing these things, right? Then because my work is so analytical these days, but from time to time it also includes some creative liberties over there, right? I need to have a creative way of thinking as well. But my day-to-day work is very analytical. So if I stop doing these kind of creative extracurricular activities, what happens is I just start looking at problems from an analytical point of view. And that creativity that comes in stops coming in, right? If I'm not doing these things. So these things helps me maintain that creative balance with my analytical work.
Amazing. And I think you already answered it, but you need to have certain things that are going in your life that is not related to work. Like right now you mentioned so many things that you do. I feel there are so many people out there in their 20s only, in my college only, I know people who are just waking up, going to class, coming back, sleeping, waking up, going to class, coming back, sleeping. That's their whole schedule. So I mean, I don't know, like, I don't think so it helps in the longer run. I think college and these are the times where you just go out and just go all out, explore everything.
Yes, so in the initial days, I think you should explore your possibilities, right? And it always doesn't mean a lot of hard work also. Okay? I think in India, we have made that very fancy, right? Ki to achieve something in life, you have to work your ass off. Okay? Hustle. That's not true, right? You can find things that interest you, right? But keep doing something. Okay? Now, basically just not hustling and not doing something, basically those are two different things, right? You do things that interest you, right? And if it interests you, you won't mind hustling in that, right? So you have to figure that aspect out, right?
Correct.
Obviously, if you're in college, that's the time to explore what your interests are, right? You can try drama, you can try public speaking, you can try doing a business in different domains, right? Fail, it doesn't matter. There is no responsibility, no accountability that you have in college, right? That's the time to explore. So you can explore fully, and then by the time you exit from college, then you know what my interests are, right? And then you have already figured out this is what I want to do in life. Okay? Ideally, we should figure that before college only.
Yes.
But in India, it happens the other way around. So I'm okay. Okay? In those 4 years also, you can figure out what you want to do in your life.
But how did you when you said that when you came to your college, within 2 weeks you understood that ye nahi karna hai. Now it has been 2 years or 3 years, and maybe I have, not saying, but anyone out there, maybe they have understood that they don't want to do this, but it takes some amount of courage to accept it. नहीं करना है, अब दूसरी चीज़ देखते हैं. But how do you then just, I mean, I understand you already maybe answered it, but I still feel that how did you, how were you just okay with the fact that, okay, I have entered here, this is not what I want to do, let's try on different domains, and you were confident that you will figure it out at the end of the day. Where did that, like, I think कुछ उस confidence का भी तो source होगा where you were like, हो जाएगा.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest receive. The problem with acceptance is why people don't accept is because they are fearful that then they might have to take an action on it, right? And then that requires a certain amount of effort, right? Because then you will have to work on it. You will have to donate, let's say, 2 or 3 hours of your daily time going away from the routine of just going to class, coming back, sleeping, etc., right? And that would be very uncomfortable to you, right? So first of all, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? That's the first thing that you have to learn, right? That acceptance is also very uncomfortable for you, right? That's why you are not doing that. So basically, in anything that you want to do big in your life, you will always be uncomfortable. If you're comfortable enough in your life, it means that you are not doing something substantial, right? You always have to push your boundaries, and whenever you push your boundaries, that uncomfort will creep in, right? So first be okay with that, then accept it, and then you need to take action on that, right? That is something that happens with us these days. Now what happens with most people also, they keep analyzing, right? They will keep doing pros and cons, hai, nahi hai, mere liye, this is what I want to do, this is not what I want to do, right? And that further inhibits your ability to take an action because you're unable to come to a conclusion. And that phenomena is known as analysis paralysis, right? You're analyzing so much that you're getting paralyzed to take an action. So you need to, and there is no way to do that, right? You first need to recognize the problem, right? First know ki haan, this is what I'm doing wrong, and then only you will be able to accept, take action, and move forward.
Okay. So do you think is it better to take just a risk, or is it better to have like a calculated risk? Because that's what people try to do when they're constantly thinking, they want to do, okay, I need to do it, but I need to calculate a little bit कि बिल्कुल ही उसमें ना चला जाए, बिल्कुल साउथ ना चला जाए पूरा सिचुएशन. So
obviously calculated risk, I would say, but then don't start calculating so much that you're unable to come to an answer, right? That you reach to a figure of pi which is never ending, right? And then you're trying to find the end of it, right?
Yes.
It's like that. If you start calculating too much, you will come across such a number, and you're just trying to find, हाँ ये number मैं देख लेता हूँ कहाँ end करेगा, फिर I'll come. It will never end. ठीक है?
Yes.
That's what happened with analysis. You need to understand कि I will stop at a certain place calculating it, right? And then I would take action. So you need to find that balance, right? कि pi का value को हमने मान लिया 3.14, ठीक है? For our ease, right? Because we have to take action. pi से calculate भी तो करना है, right? वरना तो उसको छोड़ तक ले जाएंगे, कोई calculate ही नहीं कर पाएगा, correct?
Yes.
So that's what you have to figure out in your life also, right? You need to figure out कि how much I have to calculate to start taking that action.
Yeah. And I think like if you're too ready, then maybe you're just late.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
Totally correct. Yes. Now let's move forward with the timeline. College is done. Now you reach a place where, as you said, you had an interest in startups a lot. Now you also said this one statement that back then startup के नाम से नहीं जानते थे, business के नाम से नाम जाना जाता था कुछ तो. What do you think is a difference between startup and business?
Okay. I think startups are businesses definitely, but all businesses are not startups.
Okay.
So what defines a startup is that you can leverage something. In most cases today, it's technology, right? To scale your business very fast. That's what makes a business a startup, right? The ability to leverage something, in most cases being technology, to scale your business very fast. Now it can be any business, right? If Apple today comes, Apple is a very big company, right? So you probably not call it a startup, right? But if Apple says ki no, today I believe that I've still not reached my potential and I can grow 100x in the next 3 years, right? Now, because Apple still has the ability to scale very fast in a short amount of time frame by leveraging whatever it can, be it a new technology, the M chips that they're working on, or a new software that they're working on, if they can scale their business 100x into, then it again becomes a startup, right? No matter what the size of the company is. So that's how I look at the startups, right?
Okay. And see, there are so many people out there who obviously now every other person is interested in something like this, like a startup? Because now I think बाकियों को छोड़ो, मैं अपना ही thinking में अगर if I go deep down it, there was a time when I was like, ये इतने बड़े बड़े टाटा बिरला ये सब कैसे मैंने चालू किया होगा, now they're so big. I wish I was like उनका कुछ बच्चा कुछ मैं ही उधर से निकाल लेती या कर लेती. And then slowly and gradually this thing came up where everybody is like, I want to make something of my own. I want my own brand out there. Now earlier that wasn't there. What do you think happened that shifted this thing? Resources ज़्यादा मिल गए, knowledge ज़्यादा आ गई, क्या था जो from that thinking कि okay business है to that thinking कि अभी सब कर रहे हैं. What was the shift?
So I think the shift, definitely one of the biggest effect that happened in India which led to this startup revolution is the Flipkart thing, right? The Bansal brothers, not the brothers obviously, the Bansal friends, ठीक है, Sachin Bansal and Vinny Bansal. I think those are the poster boys of the Indian startup scene, right? They showed us the possibility that this can be done in India also, right? And then what happens gradually, if you see, the disposable income in India has also increased, right? Which provides you so much opportunities to create a lot of things, right? For people, because people have money. Right? In the 90s and 80s, it was very difficult for someone to build a startup. Business होते थे, ठीक है, but very like regular business, not something out of the box kind of things. होते थे business definitely, लेकिन इतने ज़्यादा नहीं होते थे, right? As you mentioned, it's happening today. And this is happening because the crowd today is eager to try new things. Right. Now, if you see the Bangalore market also that way, right? Most of the companies do their pilot projects in the Bangalore market because the Bangalore market, I think, in India is most eager to try out new things, to adopt new technologies, right? So it's not big. I think more than the shift in the mindset of entrepreneurs, there's a shift in the mindset of consumers, which is leading to the creation of more and more such entrepreneurs, right? Because they're consumers to consume the products of those entrepreneurs, they are increasing in numbers. That is giving them the confidence that they can do something.
Yeah.
Right. And then definitely, I mean, the awareness factor is also there. The Startup India initiative is there. If India wants to generate that many employment opportunities as the employment would be required in the coming years, there is no other way that can happen without the creation of more and more number of startups.
Okay. Do you think there will be a point where startup will be like, saturated? Because right now when we think about engineering, obviously it's not saturated, but it's there are engineers like medical also. Like I'm not saying that the there are a lot of doctors. Obviously we are at a shortage of doctors, but there is a area where it's like the mainstream thing, medical something. Now, do you think startup is reaching in that area where it will also take the mainstream area? And do you think one day it might saturate? It might be like, oh, हर एक बंदा एक घर में है जो startup कर रहा है.
Okay, to compare, first of all, to compare engineers with startups, I don't think that is correct, because engineering is like one profession, right? And the professions, if you see over the period of time, it has been changing, right? If you see from during the farmers' revolution, etc., right? Muscle was the thing that was required, right? Everything was being done by hands, right? So to replace muscle was the biggest revolution, right? And that time, those engineers or those people were making money who were making tractors, who were making let's say whatever, replacing bulls, okay? So those were making money. Then we shifted to the industrial revolution, right? More big machines came into the picture, right? And then mind also became a factor over there, right? The Ford company came up with the assembly line thing, right? That was like mind, how to basically make it more efficient, right? So such kind of people were making money, correct? Now today we are entering an AI revolution, right? Correct. So we are telling that we would replace human minds only, right? We'll bring AIs into the picture. But if you see throughout, now over here, professions have been changing, right? Now with AI, the doctors would be required lesser in number, the engineers would be required lesser in number, farmers have been required lesser in number because new technologies came into the picture, right? Laborers have been replaced in factories because new technologies came into the factories. So you see, profession keeps changing. But if you see throughout this time period, businesses have always been there. They have never been saturated. What's the reason for that? Because if you have a human population, right, that human population always wants to consume things till the time they want to consume, and that consumption is only increasing over a period of time, right? That consumption earlier was just food, water, and a house, right? Then in 90s, whatever, we came up with the liberalization started, more clothes started coming in. So we started looking after fashion accessories also right now, right? Now it has also moved a lot towards experiences, which my startup was about, HighApe, right? Now people want to consume more and more experiences as well. So that consumption is just increasing. It's an ever increasing trend. People get bored very easily. They always need new things to entertain themselves, right? And that entertainment is never going to end. That consumption is never going to end. It's only ever going to increase. And who is going to fulfill those increase in consumptions? More and more number of businesses.
Okay.
So I don't think that's ever going to stop.
Okay. I also wanted to ask you, what kind of people do you think are meant for startups?
I think the most crucial skill for doing a startup is perseverance, right? Because you're going to fail a lot of times. You're going to face a lot of challenges, right? And to overcome that is not an easy affair. It's not something that you can do instantly, right? You will fail so many times doing your startup that you will start having all those self-doubt that you have never had in your life, right? And in those circumstances, only thing that it can pull you through is perseverance, right? That I have to keep working on this problem. I have to keep making myself better, right? So I think perseverance is the most important skill. The most close second that I would rank is curiosity, right? Because you have to be curious to know everything, right? Curious to know what problems are my customers facing, curious to know how I can make myself better to work on this problem, right? Curious to know how can I scale my startup, curious to know what the other industry leaders know that I don't know, right? So that makes your process of learning a never ending one if you have that curiosity inside yourself. So in my opinion, if someone has these two skills, which is perseverance and curiosity, they can just land up into the startup space. Knowledge is highly overrated. Knowledge never works.
Is it?
Yes.
Amazing. But if you think that knowledge is, do you think that over the years, the experience, that the things that experience teaches you is far more than any knowledge or anything that you can have? Like, what's the comparison between experience and the knowledge that you get from whatever, learning, doing, whatever?
So for me, only thing that has worked out is learning by doing stuff. That's a. I mean, I've learned when I started HighApe. So we decided I was a CTO, right? And I didn't know how to create a website on, let's say, technology. Correct. I mean, I made website using ready-made website builders, but I didn't know how to do it. But I still went away and told, okay, this is what I'll figure out. And today I'm handling technology for the contact lens business of Lenskart as well, right? So over a period of time, I've learned only by doing. And I think that's the only way that I know. And hence I would advocate that way only. I've never been able to learn by just, let's say, reading books, learning from my teacher, right? Until unless I've done it on my own, I have not been able to learn it.
Because a lot of people out there are like, okay, I'm not going to apply right now. I'll apply once I know this software, this portfolio, this, that, and then I'll apply. See, so do you think that is better to first be, because then it gets a little overwhelming because you just enter in a place and like, अरे मुझे तो कुछ भी नहीं आता इसमें. So is it better to enter and then along the way आप सीखते जाओ, or is it like थोड़ा सोच?
It depends from person to person also, right?
Okay.
It depends. For me, I just jump into, I take up a problem statement and then I start learning, right? But for some people, it might be that they need to have some context. And I know such people also. It's working for them, right? And then they know some context, they learn a bit about it, and then they jump into the problem, right? With having a full context of what I have to do. But then you again have to find that balance, right? The thing that we were discussing about risks and calculated risk. It shouldn't become analysis paralysis, right? You never ever can learn everything in the world. And the more you learn, the more you know that I know less. Okay?
Yeah.
So there has been a study, okay, where it was about a certain topic. I don't remember it exactly what topic it was. They compared, so the scientists knew that these are novices, these are like middle level learners in this domain, and these are like very high learners in this domain. Okay, novice are like just entrance into the field. They know things on the surface level. Then they went them and asked, how much do you think you know about your sector? Novice were like, हाँ हमें तो पूरा आता है. It's like I know a lot. Okay. Then middle learners were like, I think we know decently, but still we are figuring a lot of things, right? We still don't know a lot of stuff. And the high learners, okay, they said, we think we know nothing. Okay, there's a lot to learn.
That's such a ulta thing.
Yeah, that's such a ulta thing. So the more you learn about something, the more you know that I know less, right? take your example, ठीक है. You might know कि okay space के बारे में I know a lot of things. There is solar system, there is Milky Way galaxy, there is this that, ठीक है. Because you don't know the possibilities of what you don't know, right? But if you go and talk to a scientist who is working in the space domain, they know of all the galaxies, right? They know कि इस galaxy में मुझे ये नहीं पता है, उस galaxy मुझे तो बस Milky Way galaxy पता है, because he knows 100 other galaxies, right? And he knows that he knows nothing about those 100 other galaxies. So see the difference, right? You just know about Milky Way galaxy, so you think I know a lot.
Correct.
That scientist knows about 100 other galaxies, so he thinks कि मैं तो बस Milky Way galaxy जानता हूँ. I don't know about the 99 other galaxies. So that's the difference which happens with knowledge also.
My God, yeah, I've never thought of it in this manner, but yeah. And we discussed this, I think, before the podcast started, that where do you think, which domains do you think that if people are interested in doing a startup, which domains should they be interested in? Also, should a person फिगर आउट दैट मतलब स्टार्टअप इसलिए करें कि अच्छा इस डोमेन में मुनाफा हो सकता है इसलिए स्टार्टअप, या क्योंकि करने का मन है. बिकॉज इफ यू पुट दिस क्वेश्चन अक्रॉस कि ओके दीज आर द डोमेन्स इन विच यू कैन डू अ स्टार्टअप, दैट मीन्स यू आर जस्ट इंटरेस्टेड इन डूइंग अ स्टार्टअप, यू आर नॉट इंटरेस्टेड इन एक्चुअली फाइंडिंग अ प्रॉब्लम एंड सॉल्विंग इट. अगर वो होता तो तुम पहले से ही समझ में आया तो तुम्हें कौन से डोमेन में करना है. सो हाउ डू यू what are your comments on that? And also the second question, that what domains do you think?
I think firstly, whatever you are doing it for, you need to have interest. See, any action that we humans take is basically driven by 3 internal things, right? One is the social thing, one is the moral thing, and third is the economic. Social incentive, moral incentive, economic incentive. All we humans are driven by incentives. Okay, in India, like this guy, what's his name, Shark Tank पे जो है, okay, see, okay, so whatever his name is, he said this in one of his videos I saw, and he says that इंडिया में हमने पैसे को कुछ बुरा इंसान जैसा बना दिया है, ठीक है, कि बुरी चीज़ है, पैसा बुरी चीज़ है. इट्स नॉट, ठीक है. अगर मुनाफा के लिए भी कोई करना चाहता है, if someone is driving them for doing it for money, that's okay, ठीक है. There is nothing bad with it, right? So you need to figure out what your balance of social, economic and moral incentive is. Okay, and then you need to figure out कि okay, economic thing drives me the most, so let's figure out where I can make money. Social thing is what drives me most, so okay, maybe I can create a NGO, right? Or I can create a social startup, ठीक है. Or the moral thing drives me more, so let's see how I can make the world a better for you, ठीक है. So it depends. You need to and then you can figure out the balance also, then you can come up with the idea or the domain answer you will get from here only, right? What is the domain best for me? So you need to figure out that balance for yourself. That only you can do. If I say okay, I want to do something in the education space, that is very specific to me, right? Because driven by these social model and economic incentive, I figured out that that may be the best choice of space for me in the next startup that I'm doing most probably. Okay, so you need to figure out your balance. I think that answers both of your questions, right?
Yeah, okay. And now I want to know your journey. Okay. Your journey of startups. So you told me you've done 3 startups.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So how did you went from one to another? What was the journey that you followed? And what was that big break idea that you got जिसकी वजह से you entered into the startup? मतलब CAT खत्म करने के बाद.
So as I explained before, right, I mean, I never thought of it as doing a startup. Right?
Okay.
It started with me with economic incentive only, the 3 breakdowns that we did, right? I wanted to earn money. So I started taking up freelance projects. Then my curiosity kicked in. I just wanted to know what's happening with these projects, then with these projects, then where does that go, right? And over the course of learning all those things, I just kept doing new things, right? And then Rise for India happened because of the curiosity aspect, right? I wanted to take my writing thing to the next level, right? And see how it fits it with the social incentive wala thing, right? Which I mentioned earlier. And then came again the economic incentive wala angle kicked in, where I wanted to again try something just with a capitalistic point of view. Okay, see, because I believed that maybe money is the most important accessory for bringing the biggest impact in a capitalist society, and we are a capitalist society, right? And I think capitalism is what has worked for humankind also, so no shame in accepting that. Okay, so that's why I came into the HighApe thing.
Okay, so HighApe, then you told me about, there were 3, right?
Bombheads, Rise for India and HighApe.
Oh,
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And the initial thing, I'm not calling it a startup because it was more of a freelance thing.
Okay. And now the startups journey has like gone through. How was your experience in HighApe? Like, what was it all about? Because like you started with a friend of yours,
Yeah.
right? And then how did that happen? Because he told me that office में सोया करते थे, इतना struggle के days रहते थे. So what is your perspective towards it?
I think that's correct, right? I mean, we started very frugally. We didn't have money, okay? And I think that teaches you a lot of things, right? When you don't have money and you are starting up, it teaches you how to do things in a very efficient manner, right? And being frugally and being able to do it's the Indian jugaad system, if you look at it that way. Okay? And you learn to apply that jugaad in real time to real problems that you are facing every single day, right? And it comes every single day when you're doing your startup, right? So, and I think that has been the biggest learning also for me from the startups that I have done, and I'm able to apply that today professionally at Lenskart as well, right? So that's very true, right? It was a lot of constraint, a lot of challenges that we faced, and there's self-doubt also, right? When you don't have anything and you still have to do a lot of things, you have this self-doubt. Am I capable enough? Will I be able to achieve all that I want to do, all that I have vision of, without having anything with me? Right? I don't have any knowledge. I don't have any experience of building a company. I don't have any resources to build a company. And yet that's what I want to do. Right? So there's all sorts of self-doubt that also happens. But then again, it's like jumping from a plane and not having a parachute, right? It gives you that confidence also. When you are able to overcome those challenges, you also get that confidence. Okay. And then you would be able to do anything in your life, right? Literally anything, because you have done things without having anything. Yeah.
So any story, anything that you have on the top of your head that happened in HighApe and it's still there in your head कि यार हाँ ये हुआ था.
Okay, I think one time we were facing a cash crunch problem, okay, and then we had to come up with the idea, right? क्या करें? It was like that. A lot of months were like that. ठीक है, salaries देनी है, पैसे नहीं है account में, कैसे salary दिया जाए? So that time we came up with this idea कि हाँ ठीक है, कुछ wizard theme party करते हैं, ठीक है, mostly around Harry Potter का concept, wizard theme party करते हैं, and it turned out to be a huge success, ठीक है, and that time I think the entire night before the party, and we were so jugaad at that time, so we wanted to distribute wands to people, ठीक है, for the party, so we sat the entire night, we bought a lot of chopsticks. And we bought this, and we bought this thing with which you seal the water leakage wala thing, right? We bought that, and then we were brushing it on the chopstick and creating wands out of it the entire night. We created a total of I think 400 or 500 wands.
My God! And then did it like so?
Yeah, and people were very happy. Oh my God, it looks like a real wand or something. So it had those designs also on the chopstick, right? We called it elder wand. We called this that.
That is so great, amazing.
Yeah.
And like right now you said money crunch. Now I wanted to know, since HighApe is a startup all about events, outdoor events and stuff. How did you guys handle it when COVID happened?
So during COVID, it was definitely a lot of struggle, right? We started doing a lot of online sessions as well. Okay? But I think that's when the Lenskart thing happened. Okay. So Lenskart wanted us to come on board at Lenskart and then bring our expertise and our understanding of the TG space of 20 to 30 college going people and early working class people, bring it to Lenskart and build something out of it. So, and that's why I'm looking after the contact lens business at Lenskart right now, wherein the target audience is very similar. Okay. Such kind of customers only wear color contacts, and hence our understanding of the HighApe audience is helping us here as well.
Okay. So yeah, Lenskart journey, right? You said that, how did you guys like ended up having the Lenskart opportunity? Did you apply to it, or like what happened? What was the process?
So I think Piyush Bansal and Ramneek Khurana, the founders of Lenskart. Ramneek already knew about HighApe as a product, and he was very impressed of what we have been doing. So he wanted to acquire our entire team over there at Lenskart. And then we had a couple of conversations with them. They saw what we have been doing so far at HighApe, super impressed. And then that's why they wanted us to come on board. I think it was 2 or 3 calls with Piyush and Ramneek, and it happened.
Okay. Yeah. So did you guys just did you enter Lenskart with the idea of Aqualens ही संभालना है, or because as far when I was interning there was another branch, OHOS, right?
Yes.
So how did that come up? Was it the entry thing, or what was the history behind OHOS? Because
Yeah, so OHOs, when we came to Lenskart, we had this problem statement from Piyush that we need to experiment something completely new at Lenskart that we have never done before, right? We need to target a Gen Z crowd, very fashionable eyeglasses at very affordable prices, right? And something if we could figure out around the subscription problem statement as well, because it hasn't been solved in India, right? And that's how we came up with the concept of OHOs. 21 glasses every 21 days, new designs every month, and very funky, quirky designs, right? Targeted at the Gen Z audience. So that was the entire concept of OHOs.
Yeah.
And then over a period of time, the learnings that we took out from OHOs have been applied a lot in the entire Lenskart ecosystem as well. And then over a period of time, seeing our good work at Lenskart also, we were given the entire contact lens business as well.
So what do you think were your learnings from OHOs? Like,
from OHOs, my learnings would definitely be again at the understanding of the consumers, right? And the fail harder thing that I said before. We have failed at a lot of stuff at OHOs also. I mean, the initial subscription thing didn't work out, right? Then we figured out a different way of subscription, right? Basically taking upfront money and then giving you 3 credits, which you can use in an entire period of 1 year, right? So those were learnings, right? Those were mistakes and learnings. Learning is a very iterative process, right? You keep learning every day. There is no single thing that you can derive all your learnings from in life. There are some such enlightening moments in life, but I think otherwise it's a very iterative concept. And from OHOs also, whatever learnings we learned on a day-to-day basis, we brought it to contact lens business and have been able to grow it wonderfully over there as well.
so is OHO still working? Or
Yes, OHOs is still available as a brand on
it's
Lenskart.
still available.
Yes.
So you like the whole team is still there and still going on.
The
with
team
full
is
length?
primarily working on Aqualens,
Okay.
but the OHOs as a brand is still available. So contact lens is a much bigger business and much bigger nut to crack in the Indian market than OHOs. So we have shifted our focus over there, focusing less on OHOs. The learnings that we derived from there is definitely being used throughout the Lenskart ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have to, so like once you say that you are heading the whole Aqualens business, if you have to just
Yeah.
tell the audience a day in DS's life in Lenskart, how does it happen? How does it look like? Because jitna maine notice kiya is just a lot of meetings.
It
And
is.
yes, I have seen you coming to the office with your cycle, so that I can totally be like, yeah, I have witnessed it, it's true. But apart from that, how does your day look like in Lenskart?
So I primarily look after the technology product and most of the business aspect of things also in the contact lens business. So my day starts with, I mean, obviously waking up, etc., at home, and then cycling to office, right?
Yeah.
And I think that energizes me for the day, right?
Correct.
That's the adrenaline hit or whatever you may call it, right? That's what basically kickstarts my day. And then I go there. It's mostly a lot of meetings, some brainstorming sessions, take care with a few of my product people with whom I brainstorm different product initiatives that could drive the business in a positive way. I try to do that on a daily basis. And then there are a lot of business reviews with the founders of Lenskart, right, on a weekly basis. So it's mostly filled with a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are some creative reels that we make that I also try to feature in at our office. So
The
those are some-
content team
the
is
content
working
team,
very
yeah.
hard, getting everyone together ki chalo dance
I
karte
try
hain.
to escape as much as possible, but more often than
No,
not,
I
I'm
don't
caught.
think so you're able to escape. I've seen you in a lot of reels. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what I mean. It's mostly a lot of work, but I think it's fun also, right? I mean, solving the challenges that we face and with the speed at which Lenskart is scaling up, right? The challenges are very real,
Yeah.
but those are fun challenges to solve
Yeah.
at the end of the day because they are providing a lot of value to the customers.
Correct. And now I think we are almost near the end of the podcast, but there's one thing since you mentioned and it's still in my head, AI. What is your perspective towards AI? How do you think you in Lenskart or in your startup or in your daily life can incorporate AI and make the most out of it? Like without it being overwhelming, without it being making you lazy. Make like using AI in a productive manner. How do you think?
I think that's already being done at a lot of places, right? I think this decade is going to be about the AI changes, right? Like you could say the initial 2000 wala period was with internet, right? We started with Googling basic stuff, right? I still remember connecting my phone ka wire with my computer and then connecting ton wala sound. I am not sure if you remember that phase or not. You must have been born with broadband connection.
No,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was in a place where घर पे मैं बस कोई game चालू कर सकती थी. That was the biggest thing for
Yes.
me. But yeah,
Yeah.
Totally.
So doing all that and then Googling basic stuff, right? Creating school projects. And then the shift started happening. We started shifting, emailing also, stopping with letters. And then the social media thing happened, right? Everyone is on social media. Then we literally started talking less in person and more on online, right? So we have seen that shift happening with the internet. And that is the phase this decade is going to be about AI, right? In some ways or the other, you can already see people using AI in different things. And my team's also my tech people, right? Most of the code things, they earlier used to go to Stack Overflow website to find on how to write a particular code. But now if they face any challenges, they are on ChatGPT, right? Tell me how to build this, right? Tell me what's the bug in my code, right? So a lot of such stuff. So I think ChatGPT is already being used. My content team uses ChatGPT, right? Give me content ideas for Diwali campaign. Give me content ideas for this, that, whatever they may come from. Product initiatives, people also go there, right? If they are unable to, let's say, calculate something from a particular set of data, they would ask ChatGPT how to do it. So we have started doing that on a day-to-day basis. We may not still realize that it's an integral part of life, but the more and more we start using it, our behaviors will keep changing, and then it will become an integral part of life, like Instagram has become today, right? That will happen sooner or later.
But do you think it's taking away the essence of creativity, or the sense, like back then the content team, for example, used to sit down, brainstorm कि वो क्या क्या ideas डाल सकते हैं इसमें. Do you think do you think of it in a negative way, or do you think that it's okay? ठीक है.
That's my personal opinion, right? AI can prove me wrong, but I think the only people who are going to survive, right, post AI becomes a really big thing, are creative people. You can never replace creativity with something artificial, right? Creativity is a very human thing to do, right? Creativity is a thought process, okay? It's not like let's say AI could ChatGPT could give you multiple examples of how to write a content, but it would be based on some context, right? Now it's generative AI also, it will try to think differently as well, but mostly it would be based on some context, right? But a person, right, the way his creativity works, he can think the unimaginable.
Yeah.
Right, which ChatGPT may not be able to do at this point of time. It may happen in the future, highly doubtful for me, at least personally, and that's why I believe that those people will only survive who are always upgrading themselves, who are always coming up with new ideas, new creativity, new way of looking at things. Right, those are the people that will survive this thing and really be highly successful in the next decade.
Lovely. So yes, I think we are near the end of our podcast, and just the last question that I ask every guest on the show is actually, what do you think is the yellow in you? What do you think is something that makes you different, makes you stand out? Yeah.
I think for me, it's my curiosity. Right? If you see, whatever I have been able to do, I have been able to do because I have always wanted to try doing new things, right? And I haven't been fearful of doing that ever, right? I mean, if today also I get an opportunity of doing completely something new, my default answer is yes. In Lenskart also, if there is some new initiative, I definitely pick that up, right? So if I get a chance to do something, I always do that. And that's how if you see my transition also, right? आर्टिकल लिखा, फिर उसके बाद फिगर आउट किया यहाँ क्या है, ये कहाँ जा रहा है, वो कहाँ जा रहा है, ये टी शर्ट कैसे हो रहा है, इसने बुक कैसे लिख दिया. So I always want to try doing new things, right? And it's my curiosity only that has enabled me to do that. Whatever I have been able to do today is just because of my curiosity. Yeah.
I think curiosity and the courage and energy to implement it.
Yeah.
Maybe because
I think courage is the derivative of curiosity for me. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Because curiosity makes me so excited, right, to do something that I automatically get the courage to do it, right? I'm so excited. I get that dopamine hit, okay, wow, so exciting. I need to do that. So I automatically get the courage to do it,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I think it's a derivative of curiosity for me. Yeah.
So is DS curious about anything right now? Are there any future things in your head that you want to go forward with?
Oh, a lot of them. I keep thinking of new stuffs all the time. I have a Google sheet where I have a list of 100 ideas what I might want to do, right?
Wow.
But then that's like analysis paralysis. So nothing to boast about. If you have 100 ideas, you're doing something wrong.
Okay.
That's also what I believe. So I'm trying to basically not think of any more ideas, shorten them down, then come up with 2 or 3 ideas only, and which I really want to do, and then
Go
probably
ahead with
start
it.
doing something. Yeah.
I think more power to you. I hope you it's just stars and shine in the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming to my podcast and taking out time from your schedule. Thank you.
Thanks, Anusha. It's all my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
It's a wrap. Let's go. We are done.